Bear with me because I'm recording this through my laptop. I'm monitoring on my monitor, which is this way. That's why I'm going to be looking that way. Because my camera is right here. I'm just going to be trying to show y'all the trade setup that I took today. I did a little snippet of it on TikTok, but it was kind of hard to do it that way. So I'm just trying to go back and recap because I didn't film all of this live. So yeah, I just want to show you exactly what I did, the trade I took, what I was looking at, and how we got it together. But this is hours later, so again, bear with me, guys. Right now, I am looking at gold, and bear with me if it goes a little slow. Like I said, I'm doing this on my laptop, so just bear with me. So right now, I'm looking at gold, and we are on the 4 hour. The 4 hour is what I use to help give extra confirmation on what way the trend is going, and I'm gonna just try to go a little fast. So basically, to know what a trend is, you're either going to see this, which is, give me a second, y'all, give me a second, it's kind of a little slow, but you're going to see a high. Then you're going to see, so right here is your low, right? Then it goes up and makes a new high. Then you have a higher low. Then you have a higher high than the previous high. Then you have a higher low than the previous low, and a higher high. So when you see higher high, higher low, higher highs, that is an uptrend. And then you may also see this. This is what? A downtrend. Why? Because it's going down. So you have a high, then you have a new low. You have a lower high, now you have a lower low. Then you have another lower high, which is lower than the previous high, and then you have a lower low, which is lower than your previous low. This is going to be your downtrend. So when you have higher highs and higher lows, this is an uptrend. That means we are in a bullish market. When you have lower lows and lower highs, that means we're in a downtrend and we are in a bearish market. The easiest way to remember, which I learned, is bulls, when they attack, they push up. Bears, when they attack down, because like bears go like rah, and bulls, they got their little horn, so they lift you up. So boom. So I'm on my 4 hour. When I was on my 4 hour, I was looking at the chart and I'm like, okay, I can see clearly. Let me make this smaller so that you can see. I'm like, clearly we are in an uptrend. Why? So we're starting at our low. We have a high. We created a higher low right here. And we created a higher high. We created another higher low, and then we was in the process of creating a higher high, and that's literally what the market does. So I saw that we were in an uptrend, so I did mark out my swing highs and my swing lows on the 4 hour, because your higher time frame is going to be most powerful, but I didn't too much go off of that. It just give me confirmation like, yeah, we are in an uptrend. But the more you learn, it just helps you to keep aware of what's going on. So now let's go down to our 1 hour. This is really like what's, I kind of trade off of. Now I write everything, I keep everything color coded, so any red lines or outlines is my 4 hour. When you see white, that's my 1 hour. When you see black, that's my 5 minute. My 1 minute, I change sometimes between blue and pink. The other ones, like the daily, I don't really use that, so that's unnecessary. My 15 minute is gray if I ever use that. So on and so forth. I'm just color coded girl. I'm even like that with my Bible studies. And my fault, I forgot to even mention welcome to Kingdom Prophets, but I'll get into that in another video. I explained a little bit of it on my TikTok. Okay, so now that we are on the 1 hour, let me try to zoom in of where I was and what I was looking at. I'm on Trade Locker, by the way. It's powered by TradingView. There's no replay option or anything like that, so I can't really replay. Everything is in live time, so you just gotta bear with me. So when I got on the charts, it wasn't 8 o'clock yet. It was between the 7 o'clock candle and the 8 o'clock candle. It was somewhere around there. So at that time, this was my current swing high. So that's why I marked this out using this tool right here. And this was my current swing low, because your swing high, the swing low, you want to go to the left of whatever that was, and that was this candle. So I marked it out. My 4 hour and the 1 hour on gold was, the swing lows were like basically the same exact spot. So I trade ICC, which is indication, correction, continuation. I also incorporate supply and demand, and also ICC is basically, like I was explaining on TikTok, the trading strategy that the Lord gave me before I knew what ICC was. I didn't know how to put it into words like, oh, indication, correction, and continuation. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to formulate rules, which is like what ICC is. So yeah, so basically what I see is, so your indication, just to give a quick explanation, is when price breaks and closes above either your swing high or your swing low, right? So let me get my drawing tool back out. So let's say we have the market doing this. Right, boom. So let's say the market is doing this. So let's say this is our swing high level right here, right? Let's say we have a high right here, and we on our 1 hour, so I'm gonna change this to white. So let's say boom, this is our swing high right now, and this is our swing low. So let me write that out. All right, so boom, so we have our swing high and our swing low. Now price is going here. Once price comes and up past our swing high and it closes, this is our indication, right? And every time you have an indication, price is going to correct so that it can go higher. And when it corrects on the lower time frame, it's going to be creating lower lows and lower highs. So this is what you're going to see on a lower time frame when price is correcting on a higher time frame. This is literally what you're going to see on a lower time frame right here. When it's going down, you're going to see lower lows and lower highs. That's what you're going to see. So now that we have our indication, right, we're going to wait for price to correct. When price begins to correct, that's when you switch to a lower time frame, and that is what I did. I'm going to show y'all that in a second. Once it corrects, you're going to wait for a continuation, which is on the lower time frame. You're going to wait for price to break the swing high on the lower time frame. You're going to wait for price to break that. Some people call it change of character, break of structure, whatever you want to call that. I just call it a break of structure. You're going to see this, and it's going to again, now on your lower time frame, it's going to begin to create these higher highs and higher lows. So that's literally what you're going to see on a lower time frame. Once you're on that lower time frame during a correction, and you see that it breaks a lower high, depending on if you're in uptrend or downtrend, we're just going to use for this trade today. Once you see that it breaks a lower high, that is where you're going to get your entry, and that I either use engulfing candle or supply and demand. So now that I explained all of that, now let's go on ahead and get, I'm gonna just leave that there for now. So boom, at this candle, price ended up at the 8 o'clock candle. It closed above our swing high on the 1 hour. So then I waited to start to see this bearish candle. My fault, because I got my thing still there. But this black candle right here, because I changed my colors. If you don't know, usually bullish candles are green, bearish candles are red, but I changed mine to white and black. I wait for a bearish candle to start showing. Once I see that, I go to my 5-minute time frame. Okay, I just do it. Some people, you can do it immediately, but sometimes depending on how price is moving, price may keep going up and don't correct, and could be creating like a liquidity sweep thing. I ain't gonna talk too much into that, and fair value gaps, because I'm still learning about that. I don't know too much about that, but you feel me? Yeah. So boom, I mark everything out. So this is my indication zone, and this is what it looks like on the 5-minute, right? So the 5-minute, it began to correct. So this was like the correction zone on the 5-minute. It doesn't look too huge. Sometimes the correction will be long, sometimes it won't be that long. It just depends on how the market is moving today. How the market was moving today, it wasn't correcting for that long. It literally only corrected for like 25 minutes. So boom, this right here, this area, when I was live in the market, this was my lower high. So the line is gone, but usually what I do is when I'm watching in real time, because remember my 5-minute, everything is black. So this was the line that I was looking at on my 5-minute, because it's hard to see because my demand zone is right there. But this is my swing high that I'm waiting for price to break on my 5-minute. And sometimes it don't break, because when I'm in the market and it begins to go down, this was the swing high, but then it kept going down. You feel what I'm saying? So you just gotta, when you're watching in real time, it'll make a little bit more sense. I'm gonna try to get some in real time, but just bear with me. This is my first video. Alright, so once price broke this swing high right here, which is this bullish candle, this bullish candle broke this swing high. So once it broke this swing high, I created a demand zone. A demand zone is when you're going into a bullish trend, because demand is like if you selling something, it's a high demand for that. So you are selling it and people are buying. So that's why it's a demand, because it's in high demand, and you want to buy when it's in high demand. And then for supply, it's usually when you are selling, because you want to supply what everybody want. You feel what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense, y'all. Again, I'm gonna try to get a better recording when I can figure out a better setup for this, but y'all gonna have to bear with me with the slow and the choppy for now, because this is what a girl got. Anyway, so boom, I made a demand zone, and my demand zone is going to be the bear candle that the break of structure came from, which is this one. So I created from the top of the wick to the bottom of the wick, and I just move it over. I put my info in there, demand, so that I know what is going on. I like to write in real time what is going on, so I know what is going on. Now for the demand zone, I'm just waiting for price to tap into my zone. So remember how I was showing y'all earlier that on the lower time frame, this is what you see. Let me draw it actually on a thing. Hold up. That will make better sense. So, boom. Right, so now it's beginning to make a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Now it's breaking the previous lower high, and now it's beginning to create higher lows and higher highs. You feel what I'm saying? So when you're looking at the indication on your 1 hour, you're going to see the opposite on your lower time frame, and then once it's continuing, you want to see the same thing on your higher time frame. So when it's indicating, your lower time frame and your higher time frames are going to look the same. They're going to be in the same trend. When it's correcting, Your lower time frames are going to look different than what your higher time frame is looking like. And when it's continuing, they're going to be back aligned. You feel what I'm saying? So like the Bible says, how can two walk together if they agree? So first they going to agree, then they going to separate, and then they going to be walking together again. Okay? Basically like that. Boom. So anyway, I'm waiting for price to tap back into my zone, which it did on this candle. When it taps into my zone, I go into the 1 minute time frame. Okay? I go into the 1 minute time frame to get my entry. And when you get on the 1 minute, basically all you're wanting to see is another break of character to the upside, because on your 1 minute you're going to be correcting on your 1 minute. Why? Because price is correcting into your demand zone, so price is going to be creating those lower lows and lower highs on your 1 minute. So let's just wait for this to load, y'all. Wait a minute. Alright, boom. Here we go. 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 Alright, boom. So as y'all see, this is on our 1 minute, and what was it doing? Creating a downtrend, right? That is what it was doing while price is going to tap into our demand zone on our 5 minute. And this is why I color code, so that I know I'm on the 1 minute. It's tapping into my 5 minute demand zone. Okay? Do what works for you, how you want to mark up your chart, but color coding works for me. Like I said, I color code when I Bible study. Literally. Let me open up to, like, literally. It's color coded. We got pink, orange, green. Every color means something different. Like, I got to color code so that I know what is going on. Every color means something different. That's how I take my notes. I take notes when I'm trading, okay? So anyway, not talking too much. So boom. When I was in a trade at this time, it was like around here, I think. So I marked this out with my blue line. This is my lower high on the 1 minute. I wait for price to break my lower high, right? And when price breaks my lower high is when I enter. And I entered right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. And this is where I entered at. So actually, where was I? No, already tapped. So I think I was like right here or something when I switched to the 1 minute. And I created this line. And I entered here. And also, I seen a little teeny tiny fair value gap right here. But like I said, I'm still kind of learning with fair value gaps, so I don't use them too much. I know a little bit. And price did tap into it. It didn't, oh no, it didn't. Price went through that. My fault. Never mind. But anyway, scratch that. Yeah, so once price broke above this swing high, I entered, and this is where I entered. Now let me actually change these to black, because earlier when I took my screenshots, I forgot to change them. But these lines should be black because this is my 5 minute area, even though it don't really matter, because usually I always end up clearing my charts the next day anyway to have a fresh clear slate. But this was the first candle, that bear candle that tapped into my zone, and I marked it out. And then this was that second bullish candle that was initially a bearish candle and it switched to bullish, and I marked that out. I used the second tap because it gave a little bit more breathing room than this candle, and that is where I set my stop loss, and I set my entry to the previous swing high before price began to correct, and that is what I targeted for my take profit. And that's literally it. And price went up a little bit more, and then it just, right now it is currently going down. So that's literally all that I did, y'all. But like I said, well, I don't even know if I mentioned on my TikTok, I either enter in with supply and demand or engulfing candle, whichever comes first. In this instance, it was a supply and demand, but low key, this is also like an engulfing candle, so this is kind of like just double confirmation. It's like double confirmation. So that's green too. But engulfing candles is any candle that engulfs the previous candle. So let me try to find a good joint. Like, so if we was on a downtrend, this would have been a perfect engulfing candle because this black one engulfs this white one. But only if we was on a downtrend. I'm trying to see, do I got a good one? Like, even this is tiny, but it's still engulfing that. That's a good entry. This could have been a good entry, you know. But going down to the 1 minute, just waiting for another break of structure again, and you can literally enter soon as that candle closes to get your entry. It's just going to give you a little bit of a better entry than what I would have got on my 5 minute waiting for like finishing out the supply and demand. Because usually when I was entering in with supply and demand on my 5 minute, if it would tap into the zone, like say this was the candle that tapped into my zone, this black one, what I would have did was waited until, because I guess it's called like a conservative entry, I would have waited until this candle right here that my mouse is on closed above this, and it closed all the way up here. Now, I still most likely would have got that. I could have got tapped out. I don't know, because I didn't get in there. Like, I don't know what that would have looked like. If I would have got in at the close of this, let's just see. Because knowing me, I probably would have had this stop loss under this demand zone, and probably would have did a little wait till it said 1 to 1, and it wouldn't have got there for me. That's probably how that would have worked out. I don't know, because I didn't take that setup that way, but that probably would have happened, just knowing what I probably would have did. So this was my first time today even getting my entry on the 1 minute, because I usually do take it on a 5 minute, but I'm like, it gotta be something else to like get a better entry. Because when I was watching it, I'm like, this how the market was moving. I'm like, it's going to close above this level so high. I just had a feeling. So yeah, that was my entry, and that's how I took my trade. So just like I had the writing, they're all spread out because I'm on a lower time frame. Let me go back to the 1 hour. I write everything down, so even when I was looking at everything, I'm writing it's in an uptrend, it's in a process of breaking a swing high, it'll be broken over this level. But this is exactly, and I did the same thing for the 4 hour. So this is what I did right here. I waited for the indication on the 1 hour, then I went to the 5 minute once it started correcting. I marked out the breaker structure on the 5 minute. Once the structure was broken, I marked a demand zone. And once the demand zone was tapped, I went to my 1 minute for my entry. I waited for a breaker structure of a swing high on the 1 minute. I entered at that breaker structure. The breaker structure is always going to be the candle close above the zone. Not a wick, the candle close. Then I targeted the swing high on, I targeted the swing high on the 1 minute prior before the correction happened on that 1 minute. And then I set my stop loss on the second tap of the 5 minute, and then I just put in parentheses because I screenshotted this for me to look back at in the future, just in case if I ever forget. By God's grace, I won't. That you can target the first tap, but the second tap gave me a little bit more room. So that's literally all that I did. And like, if I would have just now got on the charts, this would have been my swing high, that white candle, and then that would have been my swing low, and we would be in a downtrend. But you see how sometimes the market does not like indicate and correct immediately and then continue. Sometimes it does. I love when it gives an indication, then it correct and it continue. But sometimes it does not always do that. Because like, look at this, it indicated and it kept on going. It corrected like here, and then you probably could have caught like all of this if you're more of like a swing trader. But sometimes it don't do like, it may be like this. It may indicate grab content, you know what I'm saying? So I love when it does it nice and quick. But yeah, so that was my setup and the trade that I took today. Again, I hope it makes sense. I'm gonna try to get to a point where I can explain a little faster and make a separate video going over like everything that I did, and depending on how long this was, I may cut some of this out, and I don't know, we just gonna see. But thank you guys for watching. If you want to continue to see the journey, like, comment, and subscribe. Bear with me, y'all. I was a little nervous to do this, but I'm walking out on faith and doing what I feel like the Lord has told me to do. And again, a whole nother story for a whole nother day, even on that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But yeah, thank y'all for watching, and see y'all next time.